Now, tonight what I'd like to do is give you guys a sample class. What I'll do is I'll lead a sample class, and then what I'm going to do is tell you why we use a class such as the class I just led. Okay? So everybody has had an opportunity now to read the case of Mr. Slovic, right? So everybody's read that? Yes? Do I see a nod of heads? That one paragraph case? Okay. Mr. Slovic saying that he can't understand why we need a marketing department, right? What he said is, he said, you know, a company that can sell all of its product, it's in a period of time of shortage, and you can sell everything that you can make, why do you need a marketing department? You might as well just disband the marketing department and save the money and either give the money to the investors, put it to the bottom line, or build new plant and equipment. But what you don't need to do is waste the expense on marketing. Okay? So what do you think? Do we need a marketing department?
Yes.
You do? Okay. What do we need them for?
Well, you've got your products and your consumers, so you need to match the two.
All right, so we need to match the products and the consumer. But wait a minute, I can sell everything that I can make. Am I worried about matching anything? Stay with you.
I guess you've got to tailor your needs as well.
All right, but wait a minute. This is a commodity product. Let's suppose we're talking about oil. We can sell every ounce of oil that we can make. Do I need a marketing department?
Yes, how about competition?
Okay. What about it?
They might come up.
All right, so we might have competition, but I can sell everything I can make. Am I worried about competition? Maybe in the long run, right? So one thing we worry about is that this cycle, right, which is a shortage cycle, might not exist forever, right? And that there's a series of cycles that we generally go through in an economy. Generally we have a shortage, and a shortage is generally followed by what? By inflation, right? Which leads to, inflations generally kick off recessions, then recessions generally kick off, then the recession kind of ends, and then all of a sudden what we go through after the recessionary period is we go through another period of growth. So what we have to do is we have to recognize that we do different things with our marketing department in different parts of the cycle. But do we really need a marketing department in the middle of a period in which we have a shortage? What would your marketing department do during a shortage, sir?
Market research, basically gather information on my clientele, how the market's going to move as well.
All right, so what we want to do is we want to know how long this shortage period might exist or persist, right? So one of the things we might do is we might look at during the shortage period, getting information on the marketplace itself, whether this undersupply and overdemand is going to be chronic, or whether this is something, this is something that's going to be sustainable, and that we should actually expand production. Because look, when you get into a shortage period, one of the things you've got to do is start asking yourself, do we put on more capacity, right? And one of the problems with putting on more capacity is what? Is that if we put on capacity, and this is just a temporary thing, plant and equipment has long life cycles, right? We're putting on 10, 15, 20, 30-year assets, maybe for a temporary shortage in the marketplace. So we want to know why this shortage exists and whether or not we want to actually go and build up plant and equipment and things like that. Do we want to raise prices or not? Now look, clients get a little bit touchy. And if we're looking at this and we're saying, hey, this is an industry that we're going to be in for a long time, for a long period, and our clients are important to us, and client relationships are going to be long and enduring, then we might want to make sure that we don't bruise our clients during this time period, right? On the other hand, if this is an industry that we're saying, hey, look, we're in the sunset. We're getting out of this industry. We've got a 1 or 2 year investment horizon, then we're gone. Maybe we say, you know what? Now's a good time to take and extract as much profitability out of the marketplace as we can. Let's up our prices, because we're not going to stay in this industry, and we're leaving. Okay? What else you got to ask yourself about clients? Are all clients equal? Are all of your clients equal? No.
Some of them have more spending power than others.
Okay, and what else do you know about your clients? Are they all good clients? Really? I mean, come on. I know they all pay the bills, but are they all good clients?
No, some of them are willing to ditch you at the first sign of a good confident.
So we have different types of customers, right? We have A customers, B customers, and C customers. Or we have the 10s, the 5s, and the 1s, right? Something along those lines. We rank our customers, right? And if I'm in a period of shortage, let's suppose that, you know, we're talking about cherries, right? And there's a shortage of cherries. And we just don't have enough cherries. And we have all these food companies that we interact with. And now we don't have enough cherries. What am I going to do? Am I going to give them to my best customers? Or those customers that run to the competition any chance that they get because the competition's got a lower price? Who do I take care of? Yeah, the best customers, right? So one of the things I got to do is I got to make decisions about which customers are important to me. Which ones are my best customers? Which ones are strategic? Okay, what else do I have to do during a shortage? Let's stick with a shortage for just a minute. You guys all look like you're dead. Did you work or something today? Come on, what else? Sir, right here.
What about the cost market?
Okay, so what about it?
So if the costs are pretty high, and if the overheads of running the marketing department are pretty high, then you might have to consider whether you want to keep, whether you want to, downgrade the number of people in that, like bring down the consumption of resources that is taking up the organization. So that's probably what we should look at, and we should find a part of equilibrium where it don't cost as much as the amount of revenues we get from practices.
Okay, so some of the things we have to do is we have to look at costs, and one of the things we might do is we might look at the actual ingredients and see if there's something that we can do. So let's go back to, you know, I just mentioned cherries. Suppose that we make something like fruit cocktail. We're the Del Monte company, and we make fruit cocktail. And cherries are one of the ingredients. And normally the recipe is 5 kilos of peaches, 5 kilos of pears, and 1 kilo of cherries. Okay, now what I might do is I might say, okay, look, we're going to go to 6, 6, and 1. So we change the recipe a little bit. You know, one only needs to look at a can of mixed nuts or something like this, and you can tell which nut is expensive because you won't see as many of them, right, in that canister of mixed nuts. So one of the things we have to do when we are in a shortage period is we have to make decisions about what the product type is going to look like, right? And additionally, we have to make decisions about what? We have to make decisions about which products are we actually going to sell, right? So what's the product portfolio within the firm? Look, if I'm starting to look at something like cherries, and again, I keep using the cherry example here, but if I have a shortage of cherries, and I use cherries to either make cherry extract, or I make cherry juice, or I make cherry pie stock, right? Now, cherry extract is very, very high margin. Cherry juice doesn't use a lot of cherries, but it's medium kind of a margin. And cherry pie stock uses an awful lot of cherries, and it's a low margin business. Well, if I'm in a shortage period, what am I going to do? I'm not going to be making cherry pie stock, right? I'm going to use the cherry extract. I'm going to use the cherry juices. These are the higher margin businesses. I'm probably going to trend towards the products. I'm going to make product decisions that are going to do what? That are going to lead to higher profitability. Now, all that said, if cherry pie stock is very strategically important to us, this is something that keeps us in the house, and it's of tremendous importance to our clients and our client base, and it represents the lion's share of our profitability because of volume, then maybe I say, well, I've got to take it on the chin profit-wise, but certainly I want to discuss or I want to think about those decisions. Come on, let me ask you, what else are you going to do in a shortage period? Now look, you got to talk to the marketplace too, right? So you think about, you know, most people will tell you marketing is about 4 Ps. I think it's about a lot more than that. Okay, but if you look at the 4 Ps, we talked a little bit about the products. We talked about the pricing. What are we going to do with our promotion? What are you going to do with your advertising during a shortage period? What are you going to say, ma'am? If you're in a shortage, what would you say? There's no sleeping at SMU. So come on.
Well,
You're next.
This is what you're going for. What about substitutes? Being like, hey, we don't have a lot of cherries, but what about blueberries?
Okay, so what we might do is we might inform the marketplace of other offerings that we have, right? Because we have a shortage. And this is what we call demarketing, right? Where we try to limit demand for our goods and services. So we might tell people, one, about other products, right? So we're going to keep our advertising down on the cherry-based products and try to push our blueberry-based products or something like that, okay? So we demarket cherries and we push blueberries. Okay, what else might we do?
You mean if there's a shortage of ingredients?
Yeah, if there's a shortage out there, what else do you see companies, or what else do you see companies doing? Do you remember when we had oil shortages a couple of years back? There were oil shortages and gas shortages everywhere. What do the advertisements look like for oil and gas companies then? How do they change? Do they say, use Chevron or use BP because we're cleaner, your car will perform better, is that the way their advertisements go when there's a shortage? No, that's when they've got enough supply, right? I mean, that's when there's enough demand out there. Then they're trying to steal share from each other, and it's a very different message. But when there's a shortage, what do you see in their advertisements? They see some poor guy with a set of cables trekking through the Nigerian jungle, right? And as he's going over some hill, they're saying, going deep into the recesses of the Nigerian jungle, looking for oil and gas reserves. BP Amoco has been exploring, right? And they're trying to tell you what? About everything that they do to alleviate the shortage, right? The shortage exists not because of them, right? They're doing everything they possibly can. The shortage just came up, right? So, yeah.
Do you consider that as marketing or public relations?
Oh, it's both, right? I mean,
More PR.
yeah. Well, it is more PR. Now, look, within the 4 Ps, the one element is called promotion, and promotion falls under the marketing group. And in promotion, there's advertising, publicity, public relations, and sales. Right? These are all what we call the promotional activities, because these are the things that promote us in the marketplace. So promotion is about the activation of the marketplace. So if I think about it, advertising is paid for. Publicity and public relations are non-paid for activities that we engage in. Now, is this going to be kind of a partially an advertisement as well as a public relations message? Yeah, but it's certainly going to probably come out, almost certainly going to come out of the advertising budget. Right? All right, come on, what else we got to do? We've got promotion.
Streamline our processes.
Okay, streamline our processes. What's the fourth element? What's the fourth P? We've talked about price. We've talked about product. Placement. So what else do we need to know? Is which channels do we want to keep going? Which channels do we want to get out of? Where do we want to make sure our product is? And where do we maybe not want to have our product made available? So look, if there's certain channels that are very important to us, certain distribution channels that we want to make sure that we keep up, let's keep them up. Others we might say, let's let them go. It's not a good time for us to be in these distribution channels. Keep your best customers, keep your message clear, and keep your distribution channels. Okay? All right, now look, what happens after a shortage? Well, after a shortage, what we generally run into is a tremendous period of inflation. And during an inflationary period, what happens? Is that what we start to see is that prices are going up, right? So prices are increasing. So during an inflationary period, what do you have to do as a marketing department? Do we need a marketing department during an inflationary period? Sure. And what do they got to do for us? What do you think? They have to try to earn more, absolutely. Okay? But now, what are the people seeing during inflation? People are seeing high prices, right? So we got to earn more, but we also got to justify this somehow, right? So what do we do? What do we do?
Put the prices up.
Yeah.
For what? But also justify them to your customers
Okay.
somehow.
So we got to raise our prices during an inflationary period.
And the impact of that could be, well, manifold.
So how would you justify higher prices?
Through, well, I don't know if you justify it, maybe just explain or just try to combat them by other strategies. Perhaps if customers are experiencing financial distress, you could offer them alternative payment methods.
Ah, wow, great idea. So one thing we might do is we might look not just at raising price, but changing the way we price, right? So instead of saying, hey, you've got to pay for it all, you've got to take one bite to finish the apple, what we're going to do is let you pay it on a monthly basis or a weekly basis or something like this, so that the client doesn't get hit with all of the expenditure all at one time, right? Okay, great. What else might we do?
You might be able to change the way that your product is packaged so that you don't hit them up for the same amount. You know, make it look smaller, you know, like you have smaller bites of the apple, sell it in small
Okay.
packs.
So yeah, absolutely. A lot of times what happens is when you have a big increase in a ingredient or price, what they do is they repackage and make things smaller. You know, when I was a child, we went through sugar shortages, and candy bars got smaller and smaller and smaller, right? Why? Because the sugar price had gone up. So what they would do is they'd bring down the size of the candy bar so that they could continue to sell the candy at the same price. Today, with food prices going through the roof, what are you seeing on menu items at the national chain steakhouses and things like this? They're going to smaller and smaller portion sizes. Why? You know, they're saying it's a healthy choice, but what they're trying to do is keep their menu prices lower and lower, right? So what they're doing is Americans are getting thinner, for God's sakes. Right? Really and truly, this just came up. They were just saying, for the first time in 2.5 decades, Americans are actually, fewer of them are becoming obese. I have to attribute it to the higher food prices, right? I mean, okay, so, all right, what else? What else are you going to do? When you got that higher prices, the other thing you might do is, like I say, you look at different sizes and things like that, right? Okay, what else are we going to do during the higher price period? As prices are going up, what do you want to tell your customers?
You have a differential pricing strategy?
That what?
A differential pricing strategy?
How so?
Somebody buying larger volumes, you give them better discounts or better
All right.
pricing?
So we look at ways to package our goods together to give them the best price possible in the marketplace. So we look at, are there ways that they can save? So we're going to look at stripping away other services that might not be needed to bring down the overall sticker shock. We might look at bundling products together to reduce the overall big shock that they get when they see this big bundle coming through. Okay, the other thing we might do is do what? We look for other ingredients, right? So going back to the blueberries versus cherries, we might look for other ingredients that we can mix in. But the thing we want to do here is we want to make sure that anything we do in terms of promotion does a couple of things. One, that it tells people why it is that these prices are up, and everything we're doing to try and keep it from happening. That is, what steps have we taken, and how, in a relative sense, while our prices are up, they're not up as much as they should be or could be, or other people's prices are. Hey, when I was over in Italy, I used to teach at a university down in Rome, and when I was teaching there, it was during the time period in which the Parmalat milk scandal came out. And all of a sudden, there's a shortage of milk supply throughout Europe, and the price of milk and cheese and things like this shoots through the roof. And what happens? You go out for a pizza in the Italian restaurants, and they would have a sticker on all the menus that said, you know, we're very, very sorry, but due to the increase in milk prices, we're adding a 1.5 euro surcharge to all pizzas. Now, 1.5 euros is about $6,000, right? Just kidding. Dollar's kind of weak these days. Okay. So what we see is we see this tremendous this tremendous spike in prices. They had to let people know why are their prices high. A lot of times when you see things like oil prices or electricity prices go up, you will see transportation companies and airlines putting on fuel surcharges. You'll see hotels putting on electricity charges or power charges on rooms. They're trying to let you know, we don't want to raise our prices, but this is why this portion has to go up. So what they do is they break that cost that is inflating out. Now look, after a shortage, we go through shortage, we go through inflation. After inflation, generally we have the big R word, right? All right. Now, in a recessionary time period, what happens? Economically, what's the economic condition? We have too much production and not enough demand. Now, ma'am, do we need a marketing department?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, this is when everybody thinks we need the marketing department, right, at this time, right? Because this is when you've got to make sales occur, right? This is when this activation really has to take place. Wow. So how do you stimulate sales in some of these product areas? Suppose you sell something as simple as toothpaste. How are you going to make people buy more toothpaste? Come on. You supply the answers, gang. Okay, so we tell people about the benefits of brushing more, right? So what might be some of those benefits?
Reduce dental problems, so
Okay.
we can reduce medical.
All right, so we'll tell them about the, you know, in a recessionary time period, a message that ought to play well is that it'll lower your overall medical costs because you'll have healthy gums, you'll have healthy teeth, you won't have to see the dentist as often, you won't have these potential heart issues and stuff that come from gingivitis and gum diseases and things like this. I know you guys are all like, oh, I'm gonna go home and brush now. Okay, what else? What else you want to tell people? What else is that message going to be? It's about, you know, brushing is going to...
Getting the best deal now.
Okay, so we want to make sure that people get the best deal now. All right. How are you going to do that?
Give them discounts.
Give them discounts? Okay, so look, we need to push volume through, right? So during these time periods, yeah, we might give people discounts. Or we might make some bigger packages, right, to give them a volume type discount. Because most research demonstrates that the more product you take into people's homes, the more they use, right? And I mean, it's just, everything from paper towels to toothpicks to, the more of it you put in their house, the quicker they go through the stuff, right? So the more of it is around, the more people will tend to use it. Okay. What else are you going to do to these people? How are you going to get them to use more toothpaste?
Probably have to think small as well. In a way that you need to
Okay.
you need to do something with the packaging in terms that you don't need to package it in such a way that huge toothpaste in volumes will be marketed to them.
All right.
Make it more affordable and make it smaller.
All right.
And make the purchases more frequent.
Great point, right? Is that while on the one side, your desire is to push more product through the marketplace, right? Because we've got excess supply. But maybe one of the ways to do it is to split the market somewhat and say, look, we're going to sell big packages, but there's also a group of people that don't have a lot of money in their pocket, and it's a recessionary time period, and what we want to do is reduce their cost of buying, right? Or the hurdle to them getting in. So let's look for some smaller sizes, okay? Hey, you know what? This is Singapore, right? I'll bet you there's an engineer in this room someplace. Just one or two or three or 30. Okay? Hey, engineers, what are you guys going to do to get people to consume more toothpaste? Engineers? Anybody a mechanical engineer in here?
Supposed to get more of the stuff to come out of the...
Okay, how are you going to get more to come out of the tube?
Well, there are ways you can...
Tell me about them.
I'm a computer engineer, so I'm not pretty sure.
I'm sure you took ME.
Yeah, you could change the consistency.
Okay, so we could change the consistency.
Or what we call as viscousness.
All right.
So that way you could actually get more to come out. And the other way is, it's not related to this, but visually show people using more of that stuff in ads, for example. So show a brush full of toothpaste.
All right.
So that way you impress upon them. When they use it, they realize more of it is going to do stuff than they thought it would. So they prompt it to Bible.
All right. So let's kind of go through a couple of these and show you how some of these are done, right? So what did they do in the toothpaste business? I mean, how much toothpaste do you really need? Not very much, actually, right? Just a speck of it to really do the job. But what do? They show people putting it on like this, right? So things about that high. So people use way too much toothpaste. I mean, if Not saying they shouldn't, but they tend to use way more than they need. So one of the things they do is they demonstrate it and demonstrate the proper usage of toothpaste. The other thing that they want to do is they want to tell you the benefits of brushing more often. They might want to make toothpaste heads, right? They buy a toothbrush company and you make a big head to your toothbrushes, right? People feel like they need more on the toothbrush when the head is longer, right? And it's bigger and it's wider. You know, now they're gone to Oral-B 20s and 40s and 60s, and now they got an Oral-B 100. The thing's like a board, right? Okay, these things are big. You can put a lot of toothpaste on them, right? So you make complementary products that drag your product through, right? These are things that these companies do all the time. You know, the other thing that we might do is we might change the viscosity, right? So that more of it pumps through. We might also increase the size of the hole, engineers, right? Because it's 3 1/3, right, times diameter. You increase that size of the hole just a little bit and a lot more product moves through that, right? Now look, do they do this? Sure they do, right? Look, the Coca-Cola company learned a long time ago. When I was a kid, now, you know, I'm starting to sound like, back when I was a kid, okay, we used to buy sodas. And if you dropped your soda, you couldn't open the soda for a day or two. I mean, it literally would hit the ceiling. Now, today, you can roll a Diet Coke down the corridor. 2 minutes later, you can pop it on the top and you can open that thing up and drink it. Okay, now something happened. Well, you know what happened? Is that they realized that carbonation reduced consumption. Is that the more carbonated the drink was, the less of it people could drink. Because it filled up their stomach. It put air bubbles in their stomach and they couldn't drink a lot of it. So what they found out was if they turned down the carbonation level, people would drink more of this stuff. Now, if you go over to McDonald's, McDonald's charges you by the what? By the glass when you buy a soft drink. So what do they give you over at McDonald's when you buy a soft drink? They give you a soda that has no carbonation in it. Lots and lots of ice, no carbonation, and then what do? They give you a straw that's as big as a garden hose. Right? You can hardly get your mouth around this thing, right? And it's like one sip and it's gone, right? They know this, right? This is the sort of thing you do to increase consumption of the product. Okay, what else are you going to do? Come on, toothpaste. Just a couple more minutes and I'll let you guys go on this one. What else are you going to do with toothpaste? Huh? Okay, we're gonna try and tell people about perceived value. Because right now, people are what? People are broke. They got no money, right? This is a time when people are very, very afraid to make a bad decision because right now their pocketbook hurts. So what we got to do is we got to convince them of the value proposition. So we might tell them about the long-term benefits. We might tell them about the short-term benefits. Okay, what else are we going to do here? Come on.
Sell it at some different channels, maybe the cheaper supermarkets as well as the more expensive ones.
Okay, we're going to look for other places that we can push the product into. Where else might people want to buy? Might it be higher, lower tier channels? But we also might look at alternate types of channels that we've never considered before, because what we want to do is we want to make brushing more available or more possible. So we want to deepen our penetration on those. Look, when Mr. Goizueta took over at Coca-Cola, okay, he jumped in the car and he drove from Atlanta. You know, when they told him, you're CEO. He jumped in the car in Atlanta and he drove to Rome, Georgia. Okay, and all along the way he stopped. And as he stopped at each place along the way, what he wanted to do was he wanted to know how available Coca-Cola was. Because who's Coke's competitor? Ma'am? Who's Coke's competitor?
Pepsi.
Yeah. Yeah, most people would say Pepsi, right? But Mr. Goizueta said, you know what? If we train ourselves on Pepsi, we're going to be in a death spiral with them. We're going to fight for our share of the carbonated beverage market. But you know what? He believed it was all about share of gut. And what he did is he redefined competition in that industry. Now, Pepsi's come along with him over time. But what he said is, he said, look, as he drove all the way up to Rome, Georgia, which is about 110 miles away, and he stopped all along the way, he said, can I get water or can I get Coke? Because he believed that if Coke was available, a lot of people would drink Coke to the exclusion of water. So what he wanted to do was make sure that people, along the way, that people had the opportunity to purchase his beverage. Because he said, you know what? The average human being consumes 72 ounces of fluid a day, not a year. 72 ounces of fluid a day, and we want our share. And the only way we're going to get our share is to be available in these kinds of outlets. Okay? So some of the things we're going to do, right? We're going to look at different packaging, big packaging or small packaging. We're going to look at different channels, channels we have never been to before. When I worked with LG, LG had a product that was way behind the competition, okay? And LG is trying to build itself as a premium brand, right? And they had this product that was behind the competition, and it was in the audio space, okay? I won't identify the product, but it was in the audio space. Now look, if what they did is they came out and they went to the big box stores, and they go out to the electronic stores, what's going to happen? Their product is going to sit side by side with the Apple products or the Rio products or people like that. And what's going to happen? Their brand name is going to get hurt, right? And the image is going to go down. But they're a long way down the road in this launch process. So if you're going to, come out to the marketplace and you've got a product that's behind the competition, what do you got to do? You got to go someplace where the competition isn't, right? So they looked at alternate channels. They looked at clothing stores and places like this that didn't sell electronic components and electronic equipment, but that had an audience that was very, very, much technophiles. And what they did is they tried to make the product available in those places until they could come out with, a product that was as good as the marketplace and what have you, right? So firms have to make these kind of decisions all the time. Okay? What else are you going to do with toothpaste?
How about striking a deal with some other company, let's say a toothbrush company?
Good. So you go to the toothbrush companies and say, let's make complementary packs and complementary items, right? And if anybody's got more volume or more frequency of purchase than you do, that's a good thing, right? Because what you want to do is be brought along. So you look for people who are being purchased more frequently than you. Now, toothbrushes, probably not more frequently, but there's certainly somebody that you can do combination packs with to bring prices down, right, and things like that, okay? Other channels might be places, by the way, like the airlines and things like that, right, that you never had your product available possibly before, okay? And the other thing you do is you always look for new uses. Now look, it might be a stretch, but new uses for toothpaste, what are some of the new uses? Okay, certainly kids, right? We might also look at pets and things like this. A lot of people are trying to brush their pets' teeth these days, right? Because they found it's much healthier for the animals if you can get their teeth brushed once in a while. It's never a fun thing trying to brush your cat's teeth, right? Wow! Come here, Muffy. Okay, what else are you going to do? Things like jewelry, right? They found that it's good for cleaning jewelry. Toothpaste is very, very good for cleaning jewelry. I know when I was in the dormitories, you would nick up all the walls and put holes in the wall. Guys living in the dorm, you would just put a lot of holes in the wall. And you got charged for every one of those holes. So at the end of the year came by, we had minty fresh walls, right? We'd fill those in with toothpaste and paint over them, right? Trying to get out of there before we got charged for it. No. All right. So these are some of the things we might do. Now look, after recession, what then happens? Then we go into a period of growth, right? And during a growing period, what's our message going to look like? How are things going to change during a growth period? Look, during growth, this is when the opportunity is, right? This is when the marketplace is starting to grow. Now what happens during a growth period? People all of a sudden have more money in their pocket, right? People's pockets are full. This is when people are willing to try new varieties and things like this. Look, during a recession, people go back to the tried, true, traditional brands. The old brands do very well in recessions because people are afraid to try something new. They want something that has a good value, something that they know, that they trust, that will get them by. But when people get into a growth period, this is when they go and they try lots of new products. This is when they seek variety. This is when you introduce your new brands, is during the growth periods. New brands, new labels, new fashions, things like this really do very, very well during these growth periods. On the other hand, during recessionary periods, they're very hard to launch these, okay? Unless they have some really big cost savings, this is a hard time to do it, okay? All right, so questions. Questions for me. Questions for me. All right, so what did we try to do tonight? Okay, what I tried to do tonight is take a very, very simple example and just show you the way that we teach here at Singapore Management University. The idea here is that this is always a very interactive place to teach, and our professors pretty much all teach this way. Okay, this is a very, very simple example. Now, I wrote this example a number of years back, and this is an example that I use, and a lot of other faculty around the globe use this example now as well, in that what I tried to do is use this early in the classes, okay, in examples such as this, for a couple of reasons. One, it's a great diagnostic, right? This is an opportunity for me to understand people's level or understanding of what marketing is and what they think of when they think of marketing, right? And you look for cues within the class as to what people are thinking, the kinds of answers that they give you, and it tells you an awful lot about kind of what's going on within the class. The other reason we use this is we use it as an icebreaker, right? This is an opportunity. It's not complicated. It's just asking people for their opinions. So this is an opportunity for people early in a class to discuss, right? And not to be held responsible for a voluminous amount of material and things like this. So when you're going through your MBA program and you look at some of the exercises that you're going to be encountering, these are what some of these early exercises are about. Getting you talking, giving the instructor an opportunity to get a diagnosis as to what it is you're thinking about when you think of marketing, and also to let you know, right, at the end of the day, what the heck marketing is used for. Because, look, if you think about marketing, a lot of people would really be like Mr. Slovic, where they're saying, hey, you know what, we really don't need a marketing department. It's not that important. But you start to see that, hey, look, you've got a lot of decisions to make. Even when you can sell everything, you still got to consider which customers do you want to keep, which ones do you want to let go. You got to think what you're going to charge people, because this is not going to last forever. You got to ask yourself, do I want to make all my money today, or is this the sort of thing that I have to worry about these relationships that are going to persist and there's going to be a memory? I'm going to have to ask myself about which products do I actually want to make, right? Which ones are strategically important to us, which ones have the highest margins for us, and things like this. And then I have to promote this. I have to tell the marketplace why this shortage is here. I have to be able to defend my actions. I have to be able to tell people that I've done everything I possibly can, right, to make sure that this didn't occur. Yet we're saddled with this kind of a condition. It was a freeze. There was very little we can do about it. But we did go to China, and we did go to Brazil. We did go to someplace else to be able to get as many cherries as we could, but we still can't alleviate the shortage that's due to the abnormal freeze in the Michigan Peninsula or something like this, right? It's just, you have to be able to justify this, and you have to be able to inform the marketplace why this exists. So why do we do it? That's the reasons why. So, questions? Questions for me?
So we've talked about the textbook examples of Coke and General Motors and stuff like that. Today's market is about Google and Apple. They've been really successful in getting a major market share. I mean, you must have had case studies with students, and what are your thoughts basically why they are successful today?
Why are they successful today?
I mean, Apple creates a shortage in every other country, for products, and there's a big line of people, people beating each other in the queue.
I worked with Ben & Jerry's. I was the first consultant ever at Ben & Jerry's. Now, Ben & Jerry's used to be like Apple once upon a time. People used to stand in line and wait for that ice cream to come out, right? And I mean, when they were announcing a new flavor, there was almost pandemonium on the streets as people were awaiting the new flavor that they were coming out with. And they used to leak it to the marketplace, what it might be, and things like that. Okay? And Apple has done a good job of managing their way through shortages. Now, what happened, though, when they came out with the first iPhone? Right? When they came out with the first iPhone, they came out and they priced it at $800, $850 for the iPhone. And then within 4 weeks, they had dropped it to $450, right? They signed a deal with AT&T and they dropped it in half. They took it down to $450, right? Almost a 45% decrease in price. Now, at the time, they had to turn around and do what? They had to turn around and rebate their customers that bought it at $850. Now, why did they do that, sir?
To get into the mass market?
Okay, now,
make it affordable with the plans of AT&T?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's absolutely where they're trying to go. Now they worked out the kinks in production. Now they want to really get it out to the mass market. And they want to move it out to the mass market in a big, big way, right? So they drop the price, sign a co-marketing deal, kind of like the gentleman in the back said, get that co-marketing deal, right, and move this product out. So you get with a complementary company that's even more, I mean, you only buy phones once every 9 months, once every 2 years, but you're buying your phone service all the time, right? So what they did is they matched them together. But why did they rebate their customers? Anybody?
The relationship.
Okay.
Because if you think about it, if I were to buy $850, pay $850 for a phone that fell for $450, I'm going to blog it, and people are going to watch and read.
Okay.
And it may just become a wildfire and spread.
Yeah.
So you might change the image of Apple,
So that's
what the consumers perceive. Yeah.
Okay, so you don't want to upset your customers, right? Your old customers. Now wait a minute. Why would I do that though? I don't want them to feel upset. And why are these customers so important to Apple?
Because these are the next potential customers again.
Because they're the next potential customers again. And who are they? The early adopters. And what does Apple depend on to create the buzz? The early adopters. Now look, if all the early adopters, who are your friends that really know this stuff, right? I'm always like, man, what should I buy? Well, let me go ask my friend who really knows, right? I mean, that's what's nice about having a 16 and an 18-year-old son. It's like I have constant tech support in the house, right? So whenever I need to know anything, I call my tech support, when they come home from high school, and I say, hey, tech support. And then they say, yeah, we'll be there, Dad, in about 3 hours. No, but the people that they really need is who? They need those early adopters, right? Because those are the people who are going to be the opinion leaders. They're going to be the people who are standing in line. They're going to be the people trying to get this product. And guess what? If they come out with this product and those people don't show up because they say, you know what, I'm going to wait 2 months and the price will be lower, all of a sudden this whole model doesn't work so well. So, while they want shortages, because the shortage creates a buzz, and because people are looking for it and people are feeling very happy that they could just buy this 70-cent item or $7 item for $90 or something like that. And they're feeling very, very good because they actually got one. And that's one thing that a shortage often does, is it makes them feel really good about being able to actually obtain the good. What they want to do is they want to bracket their customers. They don't want to injure those top customers because they're a very, very important group for them. So, does it happen today? Yeah, all markets are going to run through some of these different types of cycles. Now look, can you be an Apple? Can everybody be an Apple? I don't see people, Motorola comes out with a new phone, I don't see anybody standing in line for it anymore, right? Or, every now and then they get the Razor or something like that works out quite well. And I've worked with them a lot of years, and I think very, very highly of them. There's marvelous people at that organization. But, they've kind of lost their position as that technical and product leader in that space today. Other questions? Then I'll tell you what, I'm going to get out of your hair and leave this to the pros to talk to you the rest of the way. But I want to thank you for coming to day number 1 of the most exciting time in your life.